All right, welcome back for part 3 of our Op Art Spheres project. So the last step is to use a pencil and add some value. But first I want to talk a little bit about why we're adding the value. So this is a flat piece of paper, and it's kind of hard to see the form because it's two-dimensional. So I have this thingy right here to show you. This is kind of a wrist rest for computer, but you can still see this has curves, and the reason we see that it has curves is because of this shadow kind of at the base of that curve. That's what's making it pop out and have three-dimensional form. So the base, at the base of your sphere, or the base of your your sphere needs to have a shadow along the edges. So we're going to go ahead and add that today, and we're just going to use a pencil to do that. And what I recommend doing is starting, again, very, very lightly. So instead of using the point of your pencil to kind of make those shadows, you want to kind of use the side edge of the pencil. That way you get a nice gradual change in value, value being the lightness or darkness of a color or a shade to get that shadow. So I'm going to start at the edge of my circle, those lines where we traced on day 1. So I'm using the side of the pencil, and I'm gripping my pencil all the way at the back. That way I kind of get a better range of motion rather than gripping it this way. I mean, look at my wrist. It's very uncomfortable to do it that way. So if you grip it over at the back, it's a lot easier for you to kind of get around those curves and use the side of your pencil. Now we are going to be doing some blending and some smudging in a minute, but we're just going to start out lightly and kind of building up those layers of value around the circle. And I'm turning my paper as I'm going around. The shadow is going to be darkest at the edge of the sphere, at the bottom of the sphere. And then as it goes out towards the edges of the paper, it's going to get lighter. And that's when we're going to start doing some smudging. It's important to start lighter because you can always add more later. But if you press too hard and it gets too dark too quickly, it's a lot harder to take that away. So keep that in mind as you're adding your value and your shadows. And this isn't kind of like a once and done thing. It's a process, and it's a layering process. So we're going to have to continue to kind of work in stages. So I'm kind of just going around right now very lightly. And I'm also taking that color into the blue. And working my way around that circle. This is stage 1, very light, and then I can always add more if I feel like my sphere needs more. But the process is going to kind of be a stop and check, reevaluate what needs more, what needs to be darker, what needs to be more smudged, and then continuing on. Okay, so in a minute I'm going to start smudging and see what happens. I'm going to also take some of that value onto the actual sphere itself. All right, so now I'm going to start taking I use my ring finger. Not sure why, I just always did it that way. I think because you don't have as much pressure with your ring finger as you would with your pointer finger. So it's a little easier to get a kind of a gradual color change when you're not pressing as hard. So I'm going to start smudging to kind of create that shift, that color shift and value. see what that looks like. So now I'm going to stop and kind of reevaluate, take a look at how it's looking on the screen and looking down at it. So I can see that it's kind of starting to appear now. That form is starting to appear, but I think I could push it even a little bit further and add a little more value. So I'm going to go ahead and do that. I'll be back in a minute. All right, so there's my op art sphere. Now I had that previous clip in time lapse, so even though it didn't seem like it, that actually took me about 6 minutes to get that value correct. So like I said, it's kind of a gradual, kind of layered process. So you kind of have to stop, check, see where it needs blended, see what needs to be darker if it doesn't quite look right, see where you need to blend out a little bit more, and get your values correct. So that actually, like I said, did take me a little while to do that, even though it didn't seem like it. I sped it up a little bit so that the video wasn't super duper long.